Each participant has to cross out 3 topics and 1 topic will be left at the end.
Yes, the conditions now are much better to any era compared to the past.
You could speak against the royalty and get away with it.
Can you now?
Come on, guys.
Worst things from the history and comparing it to the best of the present, and that's not a fair way to compare. Like you were talking about slavery and everything, right?
If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
Basic
top,
needs.
Yes, at the top, it's what, like self-actualization, right? Yeah. Basically, the society needs to be sophisticated enough for you to be fulfilled.
Great ideas and a great start, I can say. And the question right now lies here, which is, who won the debate? Hello everybody, today we gathered here to start a new show on YouTube at Ielts Zone. And the name of the show is T2 Debate. And you might wonder what T2 means. T2 comes from Ielts Writing Task 2 itself. We are going to choose one topic from Ielts Writing Task 2 and we are going to have a debate over it. You're going to see the essays being spoken, not written this time. Today we gathered here to debate over a topic, and these topics are going to be chosen by our professional experts in Ielts teaching, in Ielts instructing. First of all, we are going to start this debate choosing the topic. I'm going to hand this paper to Mr. Eldar, and he's going to kind of have a look at the topics, and he's going to cross out the topic that he doesn't want to debate over. Now, Mr. Eldar, please have a look at the topics, and if you don't want to talk over that topic, please just cross it out, and then you will have to hand it to Mr. Abu Bakr. We have 7 topics overall, and each participant has to cross out 3 topics, and 1 topic will be left at the end. Okay, the first topic is out of order right now. All topics are opinion questions, which means agree or disagree. It's mainly because it's a debatable topic and the topic should be controversial so that speakers will have to try to protect their own side. Alright, this next topic has been crossed out. The next one is ready too. Now some tough moments for me. Which topic we're going to discuss? Alright.
Maybe we should show them.
Alright. Now, out of 7 topics, we have 1 topic remaining here, and this is the 5th topic. The topic starts with: people living in the 21st century have a better life quality than people who lived in previous times. To what extent do you agree or disagree? As we have defined the topic, now we have to define the sides as well. Here we have 2 sides. You will have to choose one of them so that you will know whether you agree or disagree.
Really.
Come on, guys. All right, Mr. Eldar disagrees with the question, and Abu Bakr Talib agrees. Now we're gonna give them some time for them to prepare.
Alright, can we look at the topic?
Yeah, of course you can look at the topic. Bu joyga yani soat qo'yib tiq qilib aylantirib yuboramiz. So now our both participants are ready and we're going to start the debate. But before that, let me introduce the topic. First the topic and then the structure. So the topic here: people living in the 21st century have a better life quality than people who lived in previous times. First, agree side starts and he has 3 minutes, and then disagree side goes on, he has 3 minutes. By this, they have a chance to speak 2 times in this debate. After they have finished their arguments, they have a chance to rebut, which means counter-argue their opponent's arguments. So, if you're ready, guys, give me a start.
I guess.
All right. So, Mr. Abu Bakr is going to start right now. You have 3 minutes, and after 3 minutes, we'll have to stop you. Thank you.
Okay. So the topic today is whether people living in the 21st century has a better life quality than other previous eras. I think nobody doubts that today it's a great time to be alive, but I would also push this idea further and argue that actually 21st century is the best time in human history to be alive, right? So, and there are my speech will be in 2 parts. In this first part, I would like to argue that, when we talk about life quality, it's not only the quality of the years you spend, but it's also about the number of years that you exist. For example, life expectancy has been extended greatly over the last few decades, and that's mainly due to advancements in healthcare. So in the past, child mortality rates were extremely high, and that was because of poor conditions at hospitals, and during childbirth, conditions were highly unhygienic, and that therefore many children did not live right after they were born. Also, it was because of poor nutrition while pregnancy. Mothers didn't really know how to be pregnant, how to eat or diet or exercise and stuff like that. But now all of that has changed, and there are very detailed handbooks for what to do and what to eat, and how to how much to sleep for every week of pregnancy. So that's also greatly improved the health of child and mother, for that matter. There's much lower child mortality now. On top of that, people used to die in wars or because of illnesses and etc. So previously, many of the previously incurable diseases now are not a problem. So in medicine, people are living longer. Another reason is poverty, right? So it wasn't only illnesses, it was also lack of malnutrition, right? So for example, people didn't have enough food, but thanks to modern agricultural practices, that problem has completely been solved. That people now have abundance of food, I would say. And
thank you very much.
Yeah.
The time is up. It has been 3 minutes. Great ideas and a great start, I can say. And we are going to want to have a kind of a very great, response from Mr. Elor. Mr. Elor, if you're ready,
Yeah.
let's start.
So, okay, from the beginning, I want to just concede that, yes, the conditions now are much better to any era compared to the past. The technology, living standards, and everything. But that's not all there is to the quality of life, yeah? I would argue that although the physical conditions in which we live nowadays are much better, psychologically, people are in a much more kind of a precarious situation. A lot of people struggle with psychological issues nowadays. And I want to just point out just what I think to be the 2 main reasons for that. First is, of course, social media. What was supposed to help people connect actually has caused, internet and social media has caused a lot of problems in people's psychology. Now, a lot of especially young people and some old people, also members of especially Gen Z and millennials, they usually go on social media. They see this seemingly perfect lives that their friends or people abroad are having, and this kind of causes and they kind of compare those lives to their own lives, and they start thinking, yeah, I'm not doing enough, I'm not achieving enough, I'm not having a good enough life, right? And that kind of comparison actually leads to feelings of inadequacy and inferiority, and can ultimately lead to serious issues like depression. And I think that's one of the reasons depression is such a big problem nowadays, among especially the younger generation. And another factor here is access to the news. Everyone would say that, yeah, having access to the news is good, but the flip side of the coin is that constantly being exposed to this negative news. We know that news is mostly negative. They, even exaggerates these, tragedies like wars and, earthquakes, forest fires, whatever, and climate change is and global warming is always on the news, and people are constantly being subjected to this, and this causes a certain level of anxiety in your life if you're reading these kind of things every day. Case in point, the war in Ukraine and what's going on in Palestine and Syria right now is causing a lot of anxiety among my friends, for example, even though actually we literally cannot do anything to change it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Eldar. I guess Mr. Eldar kind of defined what quality means, right?
Yeah.
Even though the conditions. But I think Mr. Aberberg is preparing some other arguments, and if he's ready, we are going to start.
Mm-hmm.
If you're ready?
Yeah, sure.
Let's start then.
Okay. I agree with the point he made about the quality of life. It's not about the number of years you live, but also how you spend those years. But still, I would argue that today everything is much, much better compared to any other point in history. So, for example, let's start with human rights. Like the very concept of human rights, I think, is relatively new. People did not really have many rights before, right? So everyone was under this great oppression. So slavery was very common. Like, I can't imagine how a slave could be happy. For example, women suffered the same or similar problems to like slaves. They were discriminated against, and they were dominated by men. They could not vote up until recently. They had to stay at home, and they could not pursue a career like they can now or anything like that. And the whole the management, the way governments were managed was also not very fair, right? So there was monarchy in many countries, which meant the ruling passed down from by generations from father to son, as opposed to now where people actually vote for their president. So democracy has been a great improvement in terms of human rights movement as well, right? So people now have freedom of speech. They can do whatever they want, or they can go, for example, vegan if they want to, because current dietitians, like diet options, allow them to, and yeah, they can pursue any career as well. Also, like, working conditions have also greatly improved, and I don't think that can hardly be doubted. They can be doubted, yeah. So, for example, there's no longer a lot of like manual labor like before, right? After the invention of after industrial revolution, everything kind of took off, and almost in every field, people work comfortably. They have greater flexibility now than they did before. So they can actually speak up against their bosses when there's something that they don't like, right?
You're right.
And yeah, like nothing's gonna happen to them, nothing bad is gonna happen to them.
Thank you very much. Now the time is up. I'm really impressed right now what Mr. Eldar is going to say here. If you're ready, let's start.
All right. Okay, I guess rebuttals are going to be later, so I'm going to just move on to my second point, right? So you were talking a little bit about work, right? So I want to just pick up on that and continue. So basically, work. You said that working conditions are much better nowadays. I don't necessarily agree with that 100%, but it depends on the situation. There are arguments that could be made, but I'm gonna just leave it there. But I'm gonna focus on the expectations that are placed on people, especially younger people and people of all ages, but especially younger people, like professional expectations, for example. You are expected to succeed very early in life nowadays. 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, right, are pressured by their parents to focus all their time on studying so that they can get into their careers as early as possible and become millionaires, billionaires by the age 25, 30 or whatever, right? Because again, this comparison with other people like Mark Zuckerberg or whatever, other people. And that has placed a tremendous pressure on young people. And I think that it has robbed them of their childhood. Nowadays, I see a lot of people, I have students who are really, really young and who are pushed, I think encouraged would be too soft here, pushed by their family members to succeed, and I can see that it's having a negative effect on their psychology, again, coming back to the topic of psychology. And there's also, in terms of jobs, there's also this idea of inflation of education, right, which was, coined by Sir Ken Robinson, a great educationalist. So basically the idea is that nowadays you need a higher level of qualification for jobs that require lower levels of qualification for something that you only needed bachelor's degree like 40, 50 years ago. Now you need a master's degree for a job that requires a master's degree. You now need a PhD, and students are spending more and more time at university, getting into debts, and this has also affected the quality of life of a lot of young people. Like take US as an example. Like more than 50% of, I think, if I'm not misremembering the statistic, more than 50% of the university graduates have, enormous amount of student debt.
Thank you very much.
So,
time is up. And we have finished the arguments part. Now we are going to move to the rebuttal part. And the rebuttal part again started with Mr. Abu Bakr, and he has about 2 to 3 minutes, not necessarily a maximum 3 minutes, from 2 to 3 minutes, and he's going to counter-argue his opponent's arguments.
Okay. So, all Mr. Eldar's arguments were about the psychological pressure that's placed on especially young people in the 21st century. Well, yeah, I think there is a lot of pressure, but I would challenge him to name any era where there wasn't any pressure on individuals, right? There was always pressure on people, young people, old people. For example, in the past, when there were child mortality rates were really high, there weren't many young people to begin with. Or even if there were, there were a lot of wars. People died all the time, especially adults. And that meant many young people had to grow up as orphans without any parents. They had to take care of themselves and their families. So yeah, there also placed a lot of strain on their psychology, on their psyche. Yeah. So psychological scars is not something. It's not something that has something new. Yeah, it's always existed. It's always been part of existence. Also, like now, because of social media, people have to compare themselves to others, right? And that's also not good for them because they're getting demoralized. Okay, well, that's a good point, but I think this small pressure kind of pales in comparison when it comes to all the other more pervasive and more severe issues that young people had to deal with, or people of all ages had to deal with in the past. Hunger, famine is one of those. People literally, prayed, they worshipped different things because they didn't know how to, deal with their problems. Their whole crops had to rely on good, a rainfall, and if they didn't have that, they just died. Yeah, they just starved to death. So, yeah, pressure and problems have always existed, but at least now we have only the psychological part of the problem, and not all the other. Our physiological needs are abundantly met. So I think it's okay. I think the cost of that, which being the social media and all the other developments, the internet, I think it's just entertainment. We have become more sophisticated.
Yeah.
Right? And we have more sophisticated psychological issues. We also have more sophisticated remedies to these issues as well.
At this point, I'll have to stop you right now. And let's just, otherwise, our time is limited. So therefore, now I'm going to give Mr. Eldar to counter-argue Mr. Abu Bakr's arguments. Let's just start.
There were a couple of situations. I'm going to start with point of some of your arguments were a little bit fallacious in the sense that you're just taking the worst things from the history and comparing it to the best of the present, and that's not a fair way to compare. You're talking about slavery and everything, right? Child mortality. For example, if you talk about, of course, compared to 5,000 years ago, yes, we're living a better life. If that was the question, I would just concede immediately, But the question was 21st century. Let's look at the late 20th century, for example. People had all the good food, quality life without the problems of modern technology and everything. And I would argue that in many parts of the world, it arguably was better to live in late 70s, 80s, 90s. It was better to live in those eras than now in many ways, especially, like I said, since most of my arguments are psychological, right, in terms of psychology, right? So that's one. And another thing is argument about nutrition. You talked about nutrition when you were talking about child mortality and women having the knowledge to give the right nutrition. But that, I think, for me, it was crazy because I think anyone would agree that nutrition is way worse now compared to the past. You have chemicals and in all types of foods. You go to a supermarket, you cannot find any food without chemicals, right? People are addicted to fast food and sugary drinks, and they are advertised everywhere, even and in schools, near schools, children are growing up addicted to unhealthy nutrition options, and that's why we have this increased boom in obesity throughout the world. So I think that in terms of nutrition, again, late 20th century was a much better time to live without all the chemicals. And
they were much more organic, right?
Yeah, they were much more organic, much healthier, and to your argument about freedoms, I think the freedom mostly relative. Even though you don't have laws restricting people from being free in their expression of their personality, there are still societal pressures. I think that even though legally people are allowed to, there are still societal pressures, and there are still people just can't be whoever they want to be, right? And I think that because of that, these freedoms are very, very relative. They're like, theoretical freedoms we have, not really practical, not real. So
Really?
yeah.
Okay. So psychologically, what is a fulfilled person? Like, what is a fulfilled person like? What does he need to be like really fulfilled with his life, really content with his life? He needs his physiological needs met, and then he needs to have like employment, right? And then he needs like opportunities for like, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
Basic
top,
needs.
Yes, at the top, it's what, like self-actualization, right?
Yeah.
Basically, the society needs to be sophisticated enough for you to be fulfilled with your life. And right now we have that. Like, we have a lot more opportunities than before, even from like compared to 17th century, because I don't think there was you could speak against the royalty and get away with it.
Can you now?
You can, of course you can.
There are a few royalties
Like freedom
right
of
now, I
speech
guess.
is now actually a thing, right? People realize its importance, and people, work for it.
I wouldn't necessarily think that it's a good thing, freedom of speech. Anyone can say anything they want. That's great. That's one of the problems with social media.
That's not what freedom of speech means.
That's what freedom of speech means. In practice, that's what freedom of speech means, right?
No.
Like,
Now, what is freedom of speech in your
it's-
definition?
Okay, it's speaking your mind, but there are restrictions.
so
Or
if there are
it's
restrictions,
just
can you
managed.
call it freedom?
Yes. I mean,
I mean-
there's nothing is absolute. Okay, nothing is absolute. You're the one talking about spectrum,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Of course, there's the spectrum in terms of everything.
Okay.
Yeah, and like nutrition. Let's look at the numbers. Okay, let's look at the facts.
Ben Shapiro here.
Ben Shapiro. Look at the facts. Yeah. Well, fewer people than ever are dying of famine,
But more are dying of obesity.
obesity.
Obesity, diabetes, and you have higher levels of other mental issues like dementia, Alzheimer's. They were like basically unheard of in the past,
Mhm.
right? Even in Uzbekistan right now, like most people don't even know what Alzheimer's is, but in more developed,
For example, if they were in the past,
yeah,
they were not like,
Yes.
Okay. Likewise, we don't have malaria, plague killing people, right? Like painful deaths, dying
Yeah.
painful deaths, or nasty deaths. That's not the case. That's a thing of the past. I would be
I mean, we
a
didn't-
person with Alzheimer's who lived to like 70 years old instead of someone who dies in their mid-30s from plague. Yeah,
I mean,
would choose that.
again, you're falling into this fallacy of like taking the best argument here and worst argument from here.
No, I'm
Yeah.
using your argument. I'm choosing to be Alzheimer, which you mentioned, instead of plague, which was, or like flu. What?
all right, I think it's time to put an end, right?
But then-
Otherwise, it's going to last for years, this
Yeah.
debate, right? So far, we have covered the arguments part, the rebuttal part, the responding part, and every part that we could have in the debate. And I want to thank Mr. Lori and Mr. Abu Bakr for participating here in this
Thank
debate,
you for inviting.
discussing over a very difficult topic. Though you had lots of things, lots of knowledge to share with here, and I think everybody who's watching this YouTube video, who's watching this T2 debate, is going to benefit from this for their examinations, maybe for their even life. Maybe they want to change, and maybe they start having a look at this life different from a different point of view, and they start maybe like appreciating the life they have right now. because in the past, of course, there were problems, right? But in the past, they didn't have much pressure. And the question right now lies here, which is who won the debate? Unfortunately, I'm not going to discuss here who won the debate, so therefore we are going to have a vote. So as you're watching this video, please, if you think Mr. Ellar won the debate, write down Mr. Ellar or just Ellar in the comment section. Or if you think Mr. Abu Bakr won the debate, just write down the name of Abu Bakr in the comment section. After we're going to decide, according to the number of votes, who won the debate. So far, if you have some time, please like our episode right now of T2 debate, and please be active in voting procedure, and also please subscribe to our channel so that you will not miss any other debate episodes or any other podcast or any other video show that is going to be released in our Ielts zone. Thank you very much, Mr. Abu Bakr, Mr. Ellar.
Thank you.
And hopefully we're going to wait for you again here. We expect you here to debate over some great topics. And thank you very much for watching us here. Have a good day.
Mm-hmm.